Welcome to the VarsityKansas.com Prep Football Preview. I'm Joanna Chadwick, and I'm with Tony Adame, and we are going to be talking, high school football. I tell you, this week we get a special one. We get Bishop Carroll at Heights on Thursday night, and I'm telling you what, after Heights comes back with a 53-48 win over Dodge City, I am curious even more as to what's going to happen against Carroll.
I think a lot of people got down on Heights because of a loss to South, and South is probably better than a lot of people thought they were. So it doesn't look as bad for Heights, and now they've got a chance to really, play a top-notch opponent and kind of redeem themselves for that early season loss.
Well, I think a key stat in that game, and I'm going to have to talk with Coach Harrison about that, is Heights quarterback Garrett Haskins had no carries against South High. He was 10 for 179 against Dodge. Suffice to say, he needs to carry the ball against Carroll.
Yeah, and some of that too can be where, especially in Harrison's case with him, I don't know what their backup situation is like. I know they probably don't have a lot of depth, so you got to protect him. You can't, the inclination for fans and for people like me is, well, if he can run, you should run him to win the game, but you got to protect him. You need to think about the whole season.
You got to think about those last three games to get you into the postseason.
Yeah.
All right. Big one on Friday night, Hutch and Derby. I love this game. I don't care that Derby just lost to Mill Valley.
No way.
I like the way that they played against Mill Valley. They only lost by 7. Mill Valley's ranked first in Class 5A for a reason after a win over Aquinas. And we're talking Hutch, which has beat teams 139-35.
Two 6A title contenders playing, fourth week of the season. It's going to be a great game.
I mean, frankly, I would think that minimum one of these teams will be playing in the semifinal. That other team could be Northwest playing for a shot at that.
Yeah, and they've had such battles over the last, 4 or 5 years, so this is going to be a great game.
Yes, and that's another Thursday night game is Northwest plays Southeast at South, and I would imagine Southeast or Northwest would improve to 4-0 there. All right, we've got Buhler at Augusta. That is two 3-0 teams. Augusta continues to surprise me because while I know that what is going on there is good, Jason Philbeck has done a good job. They made it to the playoffs last year, and yet still, beating McPherson, I really like that win, and I think that kind of puts them into the upper echelon. I think it's going to come down to an ABCTL title maybe right in this game.
Yeah, and Augusta is such a great story with no real history of football success, and getting a new coach with Jason Philbeck and turning things around. This is really their first big test under his regime, first big time with everybody watching to see how they do.
And we're looking at Jace Williams versus Zach Barkley at quarterback. I like what both those guys can do, especially running the ball. And Dylan England, I think he could be the difference maker in this game because I think that he and Jace Williams just are pretty formidable. All right, looking at West and Capon. I know, Capon's 1-2. However, I refuse to dog them too much because they did just go back-to-back against Northwest and against Carroll.
Back-to-back against Northwest and Carroll, and against Northwest were competitive for a little while, then weren't. And against Carroll, not at all, and got beat by 40 points. So I don't know what this is made of for Capon, and for West, this is, I covered that East-West game on Friday night, and they were just so ready to go and play Capon, and this is, to them, a stretch of season-defining games here. So I think it's going to be, be ready because West is going to give them all they have.
Well, and they've got a lot of backs over there at West. I mean, whether it's Dominic Jones, Javon Reed, DeAnthony Andrews. I mean, did you like what you saw from them?
Yeah, I did, and it was interesting because Dominic Jones is their best he's their best overall player. He's their best running back. He's also their best defensive player from outside linebacker. And against Capon, with Brock Monty trying to pass so much, he can rush the passer off the edge just as good as an end, very effective. So it'll be interesting to see how Weston Sharts, I think he'll give those other running backs a chance, and if they can't get it done, he'll go back to Jones. But I think he'd really like to spread it out.
Well, it makes sense when you look at the long season. All right, Andover Central is at May South. May South with no offense to Eisenhower, but I expected May South to win that game.
Too, yeah.
And, they're going to be playing a 3-0 Andover Central team. I'll be checking in on Peyton Huslig. But still, they won the other night with Cole Taylor coming in as a backup and scoring the winning touchdown.
I think with May South, what you see is maybe some problems with depth, too, with they don't have a lot of people to go to off the bench. People get hurt, people get tired, and this is going to be a big test for them. I don't see how they can beat Andover Central.
East plays at South, and hopefully Xavier Kelly is back this week. I know he hopes to be. South High, I just assume that they're going to be 4-0 here.
Yeah, it doesn't East, seeing them without Xavier Kelly, he obviously can, against some mid-level opponents, can almost win the game, help his team win the game. But against better teams, without him, forget about it.
Well, and I like what East can do. It's some things I think that they're just probably they're just not playing at the level that South frankly has experience that I think is going to make a lot of difference.
South to me, Northwest obviously is, a lot of people are talking about them. South to me is a big story in the City League this year because you never see them good at football. You never see them really competing in games, and this is something to watch.
All right, Valley Center is at Andover, and I have to admit, I did not expect to be talking about Valley Center sitting at 2-1. I mean, I thought that they had lost basically everyone, but frankly, they've been really strong. They've gotten some good wins, and they're going to be taking on a 1-2 Andover team. Also, for Saturday, I'll be writing a story on Chase Crawford from Valley Center. The kid has just been tearing it up, and he's got a really cool story, so make sure to look for that. Collegiates at Mulvane. Of course, I saw Collegiate with the incredible 46-45 overtime win over Andale. An amazing game by those two teams. And frankly, Collegiate's comeback blew my mind. But now they take on Mulvane, which played tight with Buhler. Can Buhler, maybe hand Collegiate their first loss?
Seeing Collegiate, reading your article, hearing you talk about the game, I'm just so interested to see what they do the rest of the season because these 2 or 3 weeks here right now are where teams really start to separate themselves. And Collegiate, I feel like, has already done that in the first 3 weeks. They've won big. Then the big question was, well, they blew everybody out. Can they win a close game? And then they get maybe what could end up being the game of the year, which you were at.
Well, and shoot, they were down by 16 points with 5:44 to go. And they put that game into overtime and stop a 2-point conversion. To me, that says a lot about, this team is more than just skill players. They've got some guts there, too. All right. Well, it is going to be a busy week for high school sports. I hope you check them all out. There's a lot of great games. Thanks for watching Tony and I as we break down yet another week of high school football.